I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. At a House Education and Labor Committee hearing on Tuesday, Representative Ilhan Omar questioned Labor Secretary Marty Walsh about the USMCA. The Minnesota Democrat asked Secretary Walsh about an article that foreshadowed the baby formula crisis. Take a listen here to see Secretary Walsh's response.
The USMCA included over $200 million to ILAP for technical assistance to help Mexico's enforcement of its new labor law. This funding can also be used for capacity building to monitor compliance with the new trade agreement. Secretary Walsh, what steps is ILAP taking to support the enforcement of Mexico's new labor law? And what steps are being taken to protect the rights of independent unions and workers?
Yeah, thank you. Back about a month ago, my Deputy Secretary, Julie Su, I mentioned this earlier today, was in Mexico, met with the labor minister in Mexico, and we have 4 labor attaches on the ground that are working on enforcement of this trade agreement. We have a 5th that will be coming forward. I was at the AFL-CIO convention yesterday, and I met with a worker that organized a union in Mexico for automobiles, and was very excited to be here in America talking about their organizing drive. So ILAB is working very closely to monitor that agreement to make sure workers are being protected, workers are being treated fairly, and making sure that's why I'm looking for an increase to help ILAB not just in Mexico, but around the globe to make sure that we're doing everything. We saw increases in child labor violations last year. I'm sure you saw the report, Congresswoman. The report is not a good one. It was the first time in about 10 years we've seen violations go up. And so we have some work to do on the international stage.
Thank you, Secretary Walsh. Since we are on the topic of trade, I wanted to know if your department has studied the consumer and labor impact of USMCA in certain sectors since it's been implemented.
Yeah, I work very closely with Catherine Tai. Our office works very closely with Catherine, the ambassador, and so there's a lot of different spaces that we work very closely together.
Yeah, I asked because I want to, take your focus to an article that was published in 2008, and it was late. The headline says how baby formula might end up as a collateral damage in Trump's war, Trump's NAFTA war. And so just wanted, you might not have the answer right now, but just wanted to see if there is sort of looking at some of these things, because this price was foreshadowing some of the trade factors that could possibly contribute to the current formula shortage that we are seeing. And I don't know if you could speak to any impacts that it might have had to the supply and market.
That's one I'd have to get back to you on.
All right, appreciate that. The Bureau of International Labor Affairs in the U.S. is government leading voice in strengthening the rights of workers internationally. One of these initiatives is the Labor Attaché program, which posts attachés in strategic U.S. embassies overseas to increase labor monitoring. Some of these countries include Vietnam, Colombia, and Mexico. Each aspect of this coordinated approach is vital to ensuring that U.S. trade policy benefits workers in the U.S. and abroad. Mr. Secretary, can you expand upon how this program and ILAB generally supported labor rights for foreign workers and their communities? And can you quickly explain how protecting and promoting such human rights benefits is beneficial for American workers and our economy at large?
Well, I think, one of the things that we're very interested in making sure in our ILAB office is that we have good, strong relations with governments around the world to make sure that workers' rights are being protected in those states, in those countries. But also, a lot of our own companies are working in those same countries. We want to make sure that we're not taking advantage of workers, even though they might not be American workers. We're working closely with them. And this is, I just came back from the G7 in Germany, where the 7 largest economies in the world. We sat down and talked about the labor atrocities happening in the world, and Italy and Germany, ourselves, that we were all there talking. Japan was there. We talked about Australia was there. We talked about really making sure we can continue to work together to support workers' rights around the globe.